into the workforce. We also got in lots of grammar, and would you like to know, and I told the governor this, you want to know what really convinced me that our students needed practice on their handwriting, grammar, and spelling? It was all of the emails and letters that I received. And so I would print, and if I choose to email, especially an elected official, I'm probably going to try to work a little bit harder to make sure it's grammatically correct. I mean, would you? But I would print some of these off, and then in moments of insanity, I would actually grade them. I'm like circling in red, you know, and I'm like, okay, that's it. This is it. We need, if this is what some of the adults are sending in, we need to start early, and we need to make sure that our students are learning these skills. And when the governor saw that that we were focusing on handwriting, I don't know if he really knew a lot of this, so it was a pleasure for me to tell him. He actually gave my son Connor a lesson on handwriting, and he said, I want to tell you something. There is a lot to be said in a person's signature. He said, if someone writes their signature to you and it's like that, it means that they don't really care about you. But if they write their name very legibly, and he used Arnold Palmer as an example. He had gotten Arnold Palmer's signature at some point. He said, that's a man who shows you that he cares about you, because he takes the time to write out every letter. Now, have you ever seen Rick Perry's signature?
Perfect.
It's perfect. You're right, Rosemary. It's very well done. And he said that, and he's looking my son right in the eyes, and I'm going, yeah, tell him. You know, that tells someone that you care about them. So that was kind of cool to listen to that. All right, so that is what we accomplished in the English Language Arts and Reading. Now, I want to ask you something, because some of you have been to my talks before, so I'll make sure you remember. All right, the State Board of Education is in charge of the curriculum standards, right? And they're called the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. Some people call them the TEKS. I'll call them curriculum standards. And teachers have to download these. Okay, they can get them online, and you can see them. You can go to the Texas Education Agency website, and you can look under curriculum, and you can see what our children are learning, starting in kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. For every subject, there are curriculum standards. So everything from government, any history class, 3rd grade, 4th grade, all subjects. Okay, so you can look and see what is required for our students to learn. So it is very important, because the State Board of Education is in charge of those curriculum standards. And one of the reasons that they're important, publishers take these curriculum standards, and that is how they get our textbooks. Okay, big. So this is an American history book. And you might have some of these sitting at your house if you have teenagers in high school, and they're very, very large. But the publishers, when they put together the content for this textbook, they had to make sure that every curriculum standard was covered. Okay? And there are work panels that we nominate to go to Austin, and they have a checklist. And they have to check off that every curriculum standard is covered in this book. So see why those curriculum standards are very, very important? Okay, now I've asked you this before, but why do publishers even really care about Texas curriculum standards? Why is Texas so...
The largest one in the universe.
The largest one in the... I'm assuming you mean the largest state in the universe, right? Okay.
The largest market in the U.S.
The largest market, yeah. It all boils down to the money, right? And so... yeah, we do. We purchase a lot of instructional materials. Now, Senate Bill 6 that has just come out and passed through the legislature, which I'm still looking at intently. I did, work with Rob Eisler on parts of it with the accompanying House Bill 6 that went with it. I'm telling you, it's huge, and we still have a lot to learn, and there will be some changes. But the good news is that the State Board is still in charge of the content, which is the curriculum standards. So that's very good. All right, so, and I'll talk about textbooks a little bit more later, but let me continue telling you about what our key accomplishments are. All right, so after the English language arts and reading battle came science. You remember? It's only been a couple of years. It seems like it was a lot longer. Betty was talking about the spiritual battle, and I will tell you, I met it head on, because the big controversy, of course, is what? Evolution. But do you know which part of evolution? It's not the part called remember I'm a science teacher. It's not the part called microevolution, which is that things change with time. And we know that horses a long time ago looked different than horses today, right? The same could be true for many species that have changed and developed throughout time. No problem with that. It is macroevolution that causes the controversy. So do you know what macroevolution is? What does it boil down to? Evolutionary descent, that's a good answer. What was the other one back here?
Whether it's intelligent design or random.
Right, whether there's a creator, intelligent design, or if it's random, etc. So another key part of that I go back to is universal common ancestry. So where did life begin? Where did man begin? Etc. So that, of course, is the huge controversy. And I think for the science, according to the Texas Education Agency, board members received over 12,000 emails. For the history, it was over 15,000. And we have a staff of 0. Actually, it's me and my computer and my little dog, if you count her running around the house. So it's a little bit overwhelming. And some of those were filtered because, you know, they could be like identical, repetitious letters. But, and so Betty was right. I did have to disable the comment section on my computer. I thought one email in particular, I mean, you kind of have to laugh at some of them, and it said, "Dear Mrs. Cargill, you obviously evolved from apes of inferior intelligence." Now that really ticked me off. At least he could have said, you know, medium intelligence or something, but it was inferior. So you got to toughen up, and that skin has to thicken. And I'm telling my boys, don't look at blogs. It's just like putting poison in your brain, and just ignore, because we must be doing the right thing if so many people are becoming angry. Right. After a very long battle, and I don't want to just focus on the evolution part, but after a very long battle in which, you know, hundreds of people came to Austin to testify, and they're walking around outside with their signs, and they'll have their different t-shirts on, and I think it's wonderful that the State Board of Education allows so many people to testify. It is. You have 2 or 3 minutes, and you can sign up, and you can come and speak your piece to the state board. And it's a wonderful thing. I think that is something that Texans should appreciate and take advantage of. But after the debate and lots of going back and forth, evolution is still taught as a theory in our state. So that is a good thing. But let me tell you some other things that are in the science curriculum. Of course, now 4 years of science are required to be studied, right? So that's great. I like that a lot. And these standards are more rigorous. They ask our students to predict and think and ask questions. Lab time was increased at the elementary level, so students will be spending more time in lab. I'm a big believer in that. As Betty mentioned, with the science program I direct, it's so much hands-on, because she's right, then the kids don't really know that they're learning because their hands are on. And I know Teresa is a chemistry teacher at College Park, and then another one of my best friends, Stephanie Limwall, who's somewhere in the crowd and I don't see her, she teaches 7th and 8th grade science in Montgomery. So I know that they as science teachers know what I'm talking about. You know, when the kids do something, it really imprints on their brain. All right, other things that are